MVP stats to see how ridiculous it is, right? How bad could it be? 14-1-1 with a 4,136 damage per minute with a 3,535 damage taken per minute.
Yeah, and for assassin-type marksman, he has 75 kill participation. Tell me that's not crazy. He's the one starting fights.
He's starting those fights, he's taking the damage, and more importantly so, he's really taking it into the next level, right? I mean, look, the fact that he's going for Master Assassin, he's like, whether or not this carry wants to fight me or not, I just need one moment of time, one moment of weakness to take advantage of the extra damage in lane.
You let me find you one time, I get a couple of kills and it's over. You are never showing up on the map alone ever again.
It's upsetting, but it really begs the question about the item here, Thunderbelt, because this one particular item has made both Roger and as well as Carry reach that upper echelon of marksmen to be able to run people down, almost literally.
Makes you tanky, gives you true damage, and you couple that up with the endless battle, that's even more true damage, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. These two mechanics stacking together, he has DHS, now he goes through your HP like butter, he has Malefic Roar, good luck building armor, and he has Windtalker. He saw his boots, he's like, I'm gonna get Windtalker just so I could do it a bit faster.
Yep, it's gotta be frustrating here, right? I thought that maybe Innocent was gonna go for a defensive item of some sort, maybe a utility item. No, brute force breastplate. It's only forward. We only move forward. But then we cut over the nets, right? And you can see that he has a variation of the build. Yes, he's going for the Thunderbelt. Yes, he's going for the Trinity, but he didn't make it to the Winds of Nature. It begs the question whether he might have just decided, hey, get rid of the Corrosive Strike, let's go straight, Corrosive Strike, go straight into the Winds of Nature, and maybe we have an opportunity to turn things around.
I think that there are a couple of variations, at least for this carry build, right? When you go for Brace Might and then the Fighter Emblems, usually you would go Endless Battle into Thunderbelt and almost the same build as what Innocent has. In this case, maybe Ness felt like he needed a lot more damage in a shorter amount of time. That's why he went for the Trinity build, and then he realized, man, this Roger is two-shotting me. I need a Thunderbelt, but at that point, it's too late. I don't think Winds of Nature is going to change much. It would delay your death, but you would still go down.
Yeah, you probably still go down considering the multiple types of damage, even if we're not just talking about Innocent on the Roger itself, right? And I'm thinking, how else could this have changed for the side of the Homebois, right? Udil was holding on his own pretty well, playing around his flicker timings as much as he can, but still going down regardless. Like, they couldn't find that big wombo combo.
It's one of those situations where you just feel so helpless, right? At the end of the day, you are still a mage, you are still reliant on cooldown. That Eternal Guardian, it can only do so much in a team fight. Once you drop that and you use your first ability, No More Terrify, you are just standing there waiting for cooldowns and seeing if you can catch multiple targets with your AoE. And frankly speaking, SRG, they have Yums, they have Cram, they're not going to care about your damage. Cram has Guardian Helmet, he will just heal it back up.
Yeah, and that begs the question, right? CC. So many people are like, it's a must-pick, must-ban, like every type of situation needs to have CC in it. But again, this just shows in lane, in fights, what she's able to provide is dealt with in a very smart manner. The lane, can she push very fast? Not really if the enemy hero is able to tank that damage for your minions. In team fights, what can she provide? Some kind of zoning, but not when Innocent is running into your enemy team.
I think one of the kind of caveat about CC is that it depends on what battle spells you take as well. If you have Vengeance, sure, you can stay in fight a bit longer, but at the end of the day, it kind of reminds me of Fredrin when he was playing the XP a lot more often. He still clears way faster than the CC.
Oh, yeah.
He still sticks onto you. He technically has a lot more burst but lesser sustained damage. Overall, if you're not a hit as a CC, life becomes so much harder for you. How do you get to the backline, right? Not with this barrage around. Every single time you show up, you get the Daytona's welcome and it's goodbye.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to snowball, like ultimately dominate your lane as a CC unless your opponent really makes continuous mistakes and then starts chain dying. Then it's not because, oh, I've outplayed the situation. It's your opponent is weaker. And I think, you know, Cram, especially going up against Suppa, I would say that both of these are very, very mechanically well-structured players when it comes to their lanes. They knew exactly what they had to do, and it's just unfortunate that, man, it's just a hero diff at this point.
You look at Cram, he has tanked like 177,000 total damage, right? Of course, with the help of the Guardian Helmet, he did suffer a couple of deaths early on before he got his core items, but once he got it, it takes so much out of Homebois to even bring him down to critical health and not kill him.
Yep.
And I've seen a couple of examples, right? Because I've been following MAL very closely. They also like to pick CC. The problem is, if the enemy has a super minion pushing down that lane, CC cannot deal with it. There is no way a CC can push a lane. You can kind of split push, but only if you're in the lead. And even if you're in the lead, you gotta make sure that the minion wave is in your favor. If it's a neutral state, you are just as good as any other hero. And when I say any other hero, you're just as good as a cannon minion.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing about CC. CC is very much about, I need to get up in your face no matter what, because then I don't have a lot of tools to manipulate the wave in my favor, right? Let's have a look at the total healing here to see if this is going to make any much of a difference. Oh, actually, quite a bit of a difference for Sakai specifically. Rather interesting. I thought maybe Cram would be on top of that list overall, but obviously sub for the side of the Homebois. Overall, I just think that the composition that Homebois created is all about, I'm going to punish you for your mistakes, and if I have a lead, then I can start making plays of my own. But if I fall behind, then it's all up to, hey, you better hope that Cram whiffs the Daytona's welcome flicker.
Yeah, it's more of a linear comp, right? I mean, there's certain insurance policy like nets for the late game, but this feels very Homebois. At least it's Homebois at its rawest form. We snowball you, we ego challenge you at everything, I spam recall to break your mental, and hopefully that's going to get us the win. But you're up against SRG, they've been to trial and tribulation. Right? They have seen this so many times, and they're forged in MPL Malaysia. At one point, you are not going to get through to them. And just like how this bulwark of SRG has been able to withstand the constant offense of Homebois. Let's take a look at our Hall of Fame, of course. Innocent, our rich guy, Udyr with the most damage, Cram with as the sandbag, and Yums as our best wingman.
Best wingman. He is not forgotten this time around. And I think, you know, with the score 7-20, I think Coach Arcadia has done a very good job at understanding what the meta is supposed to be, right? Because we've seen time and time again for some of the best teams in the world, right? It doesn't matter how hard you lose the early game, because once you come to mid-game, it takes one fight to turn that gold around. A simple 10k lead is not enough anymore sometimes to close out a game cleanly prior to 12 minutes.
And I think SRG also has grown in terms of the shot calling and the discipline in-game. Last season or season 11, sometimes the SRG not knowing what to do when they're behind. Sure, we call them a very resilient team. They've had some very incredible comebacks against some of the best teams in the previous season. But right now, you are seeing SRG cool, calm, and collected even when they're behind. Let's take a look at the heat map between these two gold laners from the 2nd to the 7th minute. So most of the time, they're staying in lane, but then you look at the kill feed and you realize that Innocent is racking it up. Within 5 minutes, he got 6 kills for himself.
Yep, and this forces Carry in like Nets specifically in an awkward position. After dying one time, it's like, man, I can't walk up into my lane. I've already lost to tier 1. I even go into the mid lane to maybe find some extra supplementary gold, but even then, I'm just met with constant resistance of the front line coming in from SRG.
And when you look at Homebois, them trying to shift their focus to the top side of the map to maybe give support to Nets, and they just can't do it, right? Every time they show up, there's the barrage waiting for you, there's Yums being the break wall, and you just can't get through to Nets. And for SRG, we don't need you to get to Nets. You can do whatever you want. We will pick you up before you even get there.
Yeah, man. It's dangerous. It's one of those things where you really have to be on top of the cooldown timers for flickers on everybody on the opposing team. Because it's not necessarily like, okay, it's just Yums. We just need to stop dying to the charge plus flicker. We need to stop getting caught by the Daytona's welcome. And then guess what? It's Stormy flickering forward to go for the big final slash play.
And at the same time, you look at Homebois, they do have, I believe they brought 2 purifiers, right? That means we get rid of a bit of that mobility in terms of escaping our opponents in order to play more confident in a team fight. But Purifies sort of falls off if you have people constantly jumping you, and you can kind of see in the highlights. Started off in Homeboy's favor, Chibi got off to a good start, he's feeding himself, Zorn is doing everything that is correct to kind of smother the tempo of SRG. And then the kill for Innocent happens in the top side, and it was just downhill from there.
Yeah, it really has been. Because again, after the mechanical mistakes, SRG really locked in, and then they stopped missing abilities. They started playing as a front-to-back style of composition. Once they were chunked low, Innocent can just clean up the rest. But more importantly, just the smothering of the momentum developed by Chibi, right? You would have imagined that being able to get 3 kills in the game and chain killing them together as well is going to be a death sentence for SRG to not be able to have stable control over their lanes. But I don't know. I would say that this is on the calling, the shot calling from the side of the Homebois more than anything else. It feels like Chibi was overly confident playing in this Nolan, and yeah, he has the right to be. He has been to an international, but I don't think that's going to be enough against a team who's going to be well coordinated.
And at one point, where I sort of brought it up at around 4 minutes, right? He had his boots cooldown, extra cooldown reduction, play of Heptaseeds, feeling really good about yourself as a jungler. You're getting all the purple buffs in the world. At one point, he even stole SRG's purple buff, but one death is all it takes to kind of stop that momentum. You lose the purple buff, you're not contesting Turtle, and at the end of the day, you have SRG running at you.
MVP score, how can you fault him for not being the MVP? Coming out 19-1 off of this game. Man, if only, you were mentioning in this last game, if only he didn't die that one time on Roger, it would have been literally the perfect KDA.
Chibi was like, I lose the game, but I want to ruin that KD.
This is going to be on your track record.
I would take you down with me, one way or the other.
One way or the other, but you can see his mentality, right? He wants to win his lanes, he wants to be aggressive, he takes Master Assassin both times in those matches, and he's looking to dominate.
And a very confident gold laner as well. Rose asked him, what do you think about Roger? He's like, well, it depends on the person playing it. And I'm good at playing Roger. Hence, I get a good Roger game.
Oh my goodness. I can't imagine what he's like in all-star matchups where he's able to play whatever he wants and he's still going to be dominating on it.
And he's gonna probably a Layla player. I'm just gonna call it.
Hey, Mia got recently updated. I got a couple of buffs for herself. Who knows? Innocent might have some blood on his hands. But with that being said, let's have a look at the post-game stats here, because it's not just about Innocent, it's the way they kind of set things up, and a lot of it has to do with Yums and as well as Cram. Again, both of these games, we see this particular duo doing so much work. One getting information, the other executing on the plan.
And I like how, SRG in particular have been, they show that they are very flexible in terms of their roles, right? Game 1, Cram was on that barrage, a bit more of a frontliner. Game 2, he's given the luxury to start dealing damage, to start being the one diving the backlines, and he performed both pretty well. You can say the same for Sekai's. First game on the Joy, backline assassination, that's his job. Game 2 on the barrage, a bit more of a beefy frontliner, not his usual assassin pick, and he still was able to carry out his duty very diligently.
Yeah, I think that overall, SRG just came in with a stronger game plan from early to mid to late in comparison to the Homebois, where they kind of struggled to understand where they actually had their power spikes or what they wanted to abuse in the first place. I would have imagined that Zorn might have wanted to work with Nets to get a early cheese kill or at least skew the lane in Nets' favor early on, especially at level 1, before they even considered doing anything, right? Because we saw what happened to Subbot, and that happens in this matchup time and time again between Xborg as well as Wutong. You don't want to walk up that far up, and especially if you proc the Shah residue, that you're going to lose your Faraga armor almost guaranteed.
And also, level 1, when you lose your Faraga armor, it already makes life
so much harder.
So much harder for you. I wish we had kind of like a third cam to just look at the gold lane specifically, because I want to find out at what point Innocent started making the net so scared to walk up in lane, and that's under the circumstances where there are no supports from either team.
Yep. I mean, the solo kill even, how did that even occur? It could be just the power level spike, and then he was level 4 to 3. It could be 5 to 4. It's a little tough to say about that, but that particular style and that particular situation. But overall, when we look at the total damage dealt, just topping the numbers is going to be Stormy himself as the person who is completely shutting down opportunities for Homeboys to actually get back into the game. Oh, somebody whiffed an ability. Now you see Chibi wanting to punish it, instantly gets kissed by Molina and instantly smooched after.
I know Ferin doesn't usually do as much damage as the Barras, but I want to quickly talk about this, right? Fredrin as a hero right now, this current state of the game in the jungle, there are a couple of heroes that shuts him down. I mean, Martis is a very direct answer, and now you have the Barras that always denies him objective. Where does Fredrin stand in a team comp?
Well, I think that people need to recognize that Fredrin isn't that I'm gonna walk up to you 1v3, I'm gonna kill all of you too. More so as a traditional tank style jungle. He's looking to skew the lanes in favor of his laners. He's looking to create space, and more importantly, so his kit is essentially around his CC. The damage is a lucky surplus that you get and a big bonus to the rest of your team, because half the time you're not going to be able to 100 to 0 somebody anymore.
And of course, we have the Hall of Fame for game number 2. It is, you can see we have Innocent, Stormy, Chibi, and of course Stormy at the very end. Chibi having to take the most damage, unfortunately, and he was the only one who could afford to do so. But it was just not enough. This was the first turtle, and Barras meets Fredrin. It is very straightforward. Barras eats you up, you lose the objective, and probably your life.
that one, I would say it's just lack of awareness and lack of communications from Chibi, right? Because again, the side like Xborg is nowhere to be found, and let's keep in mind that Udil is playing Novaria. It's not somebody who's able to zone people away the traditional way. He is finding information and looking to find good damage on specific targets, and that's the problem here. With laners who aren't able to kind of support you in that particular way, Chibi has to be playing more around the lanes rather than greeding out for himself.
And also the win condition, right? Who is the one that kind of starts chaos? That person is Zorn. The Chibi no longer can fulfill that role because of how much disturbance there is from SRG. Zorn has to find a good ult, and he's not given a chance because Chibi most of the time don't get to join the fights, right? He's getting picked off, and I